Welcome back, everyone. It is the weekend recap, and we are Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the Plebsites. Joining us today, once again, is the co-host of Bitcoin Kindergarten and our new clip and Twitter expert in charge. We've got Optimist Fields, My Living Truth. What's happening, my dude?
What's up, guys? So, I had this big idea that now that I'm a part of the show, I think I should dox myself. So, here we go, guys. This is really me.
And, oh my God! He's orange!
Welcome, guys. So, hello, I am Optimist Fields, and I am now the new member of Simply Bitcoin.
Oh! What's up, Phil?
All right, well, you know what? While we're on this, we're going to dive into the numbers. It's been pretty crazy this weekend. Let's do it.
Number time! Brought to you by Nodl. They make some of the best Bitcoin nodes, like the Nodl Dojo. I'm holding it in my hand. It's in red. That means it's faster. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core and Lightning Network, all in the comfort of your own home. Remember, guys, if you don't run your own Bitcoin node, you are trusting someone else's, and that's a big no-no for privacy. So run your own node today, like the Nodl.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 734,462. The Bitcoin price, 38,350. Chain rewrite days, 695. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,696.18. Moscow time, 2608. Blocks to the halvening, 105,538. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a coin join or collaborative spend. It is not a mixing service. And the unspent capacity of that pool is 4,491.91. The numbers.
Numbers. Looking good. Kinda. I had a little bit of a go down, of a correction, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, it's a good time to stack. But to make Phil feel uncomfortable, on the second weekend in a row, that's right, guys, Optimus is hosting Number Time.
Alright, guys. I am back. I didn't completely bomb Number Time last time, so they returned me. Alright, guys, so I'm here to do the numbers. I guess I didn't fail it last week, and I did a decent enough job to come back. So, we got tagged by our boy CoinJoin Day, who's tagging us in all kinds of good content on Twitter, and he goes, Nico, look what the lizards are saying. They are scared AF, and they are losing control. So, let's show this video.
But it's evil because it undermines the Federal Reserve System and the national currency system, which we desperately need to maintain its integrity and government control and so on. And third, it makes us look foolish compared to the communist leader in China. He was smart enough to ban Bitcoin in China. With all of our presumed advantages of civilization, we are a lot dumber than the communist leader in China.
Alright, so guys, we're back again, and Charlie Munger is supporting and endorsing the CCP one more time. So, why do these billionaires love the CCP so much? You will understand. But Nico hit me to this tweet by Neil Jacobs, and I really love this perspective. And he goes, Charlie Munger, Bitcoin is evil because it undermines the Federal Reserve System and the national currency system. And then he goes, if by evil he means attractive, and by undermines he means offers an alternative to, then I'm in total agreement. So guys, these guys are dinosaurs. They do not understand what is happening over here in Bitcoin. And like the saying goes, do not trust a man whose job it is to believe the opposite of the truth. So they are fundamentally invested in this system, and they do not want you to be buying Bitcoin. Because like our boy Andrew Bentley put in a perfect tweet, by the numbers, it seems that Warren Buffett has emboldened the Bitcoin haters. They are taking a victory lap now that Bitcoin has crashed to $38,000 and is only up 2,750% from 5 years ago. Bitcoin has outperformed Berkshire in that time by only a measly 2,650%. Checkmate Bitcoiners. I'm sorry, guys. This mask is hard to breathe in.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? That's like the worst.
So, it goes, Munger just said that Bitcoin is evil because it aims to replace the Fed. Then he praised China. I'm on the right side. Feel free to call me tribal. So, Dubia B, I agree with you. Call me tribal all you want. Basically, old guy yells at Bitcoin again, and we're out here winning, boys.
Bitcoin kindergarten dropping nukes. Odd number time. Optimus, you gotta stop sharing the screen. Thank you, sir. That was good. Phil, how uncomfortable did that make you feel?
I honestly think that my discomfort was no match for Optimus' discomfort.
I can't breathe over here.
What? At first, I thought it was worse, but then as he went on, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, he's probably worse off in the mask. So.
Yeah, so, dude, so Warren Buffett, he's a quintillionaire. He most benefits from the fiat system. He has the most to lose. Usually when someone is saying that the Chinese communists, that killed tens of millions of their own people got something right, that's a red flag. But yeah, I think he's not incentivized to understand it, right? He's most benefited from the fiat system and how it works. He said government control. I think that was another red flag as well. When the fuck has the government made anything better? So yeah, I think he's just sour, but I'm not really that worried. I think that that Honey Badger is going to continue doing its thing. But I think that Peter Thiel was absolutely spot on when he said that these are the enemies of Bitcoin, right? He said Jamie Dimon. He included the Warren Buffett in there, and absolutely, man, they keep mentioning Bitcoin, and every time they keep getting more and more aggressive, right? So I think that if America wants to stay ahead of China economically, right, it needs to do the exact opposite of what China did and actually embrace, decentralized money, and only Bitcoin is that, right? I think that if we want to get behind China, we embrace the central bank digital currencies. We take the China route, and we're never going to beat the Chinese Communist Party at totalitarianism in the U.S. It's going to be a communist light in the U.S. if we embrace central bank digital currencies. So I think we have to go the other direction. And people like Warren Buffett and Jamie Dimon and all the quintillionaires that most benefit from the fiat financial system, they're going to go pound sand, and they're going to be really pissed off. But dude, honestly, I just don't care. It's time for freedom. It's time for decentralized money. That they could either jump on the train or they can get left behind. That's totally their business. Anyways, Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
Warren Buffett, he mentioned that he totally missed the tech bubble, right? He missed, and I shouldn't call it the tech bubble, but the tech boom. So he admits that he doesn't understand, and that he didn't understand technology. Right? He didn't understand Apple. He didn't understand Microsoft. He didn't get how to value these companies because he's a value investor, right? What he's looking to do is essentially buy a $1 product for approximately 10 cents, right? And then he will gain from the value as the market comes to realize it's really $1. You know what I mean? Like that's his style. That's what's made him and Charlie Munger and Berkshire Hathaway so incredibly wealthy. You can take a look at the type of companies that they own. It's all the staples, right? Like, Coca-Cola, the candy. But besides that stuff, they also own stuff like USG, right? Gypsum and stuff like that for building homes. They own many insurance companies. Essentially, they own companies that produce a lot of liquid cash, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. And I think that not everybody that owns Berkshire Hathaway stock is necessarily a dinosaur like Warren Buffett. So every time him and Charlie get pissed off and they talk about Bitcoin to their crowd, there's some people out there that, hey, they're not allergic to storing their wealth and preserving their value. So they will take another look at Bitcoin. So again, these haters, they just keep providing more advertising. And don't get me wrong, but the crowd that is listening to Munger and Buffett, they're not, what I mean? In the current system, they're not fools. So somebody's going to sit there and be like, you know what? Let's take another look at Bitcoin. Wait a second. This is the real deal. And then it's over. So, yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for playing. But yeah, I know it sounds weird because Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are like billionaires and stuff, but they're going to have fun staying poor. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily Fail. Brought to you by Swan Bitcoin.com. That's right. If you're a pleb and you're stacking, you are going to be stacking with Swan. It's the best way to build your Bitcoin stack. They've got an automated Bitcoin savings plan. They're going to have an app coming out. Check it out. The link is down below. All right. There was an absolute insane amount of failure this weekend. Anyways, we are going to start going through it. We've got 3 of them that are lined up for you. Let's start with the first one. I just, you know what, I tweeted out today that I think that the velocity of stupidity is increasing, and today's fails are definitely going to illustrate that we are going down this path. Here we go. Ethereum has the power to render a donut. That's right, guys. We're out here talking about fighting the Bank of International Settlements, the IMF. These guys are rendering donuts as an NFT. Yes, you read that right. And you're not limited to donuts. It's now possible to render 3D images on chain. And the best part is, it's completely free. That's right. Just like all the other NFTs. Make them for free and then sell them for millions to other people that think that they're investments. Okay, that's it. That's all this thing is. This is the ridiculous thing. A stupid donut on Ethereum as an NFT, a 3D donut. Anything to say about this before I move on? That's it. I'm not going to waste everyone's time with the rest of this
I don't know what else to say.
Optimus, any wise words about the 3D donut?
I think they wrecked themselves. We don't have to say anything more.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way, but I felt it was important to share the innovation that is happening on Ethereum, right? While we're talking about the central bankers and we're talking about countries in Africa, right, that are adopting Bitcoin, this is happening. Innovation. We just don't get it, Nico. Optimist. We're just stupid Bitcoin maximalists that don't get it. I don't see the... Anyways, okay, whatever. Fuck this shit. Anyways, all right, here we go. All right, so we got tagged by Ziltoid Full Metal in this one, right? Centralized shitcoin. His investors are completely underwater, yet he's on a private jet. He's talking about Charles Hoskinson. He is the creator of... So he's one of the creators of Ethereum, but he also pivoted to make his own shitcoin because he wanted to be king of his own kingdom. So there you go. He went on that. And let's dive into this ridiculous article. Ridiculous. Let's go here. U.S. regulators are not ready for crypto. Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson. That's right. The regulators are not ready for his shitcoin. While talking via satellite phone from his private jet to the audience at the Financial Times Crypto and Digital Assets Summit, Hoskinson said the U.S. regulatory agencies have trouble managing cryptocurrency's ability to change how they can be used, which would change how they should be categorized. Now, keep in mind, he's sitting around on a private jet, right? While there's a whole bunch of bag holders holding onto his shitcoin that's going nowhere. It's completely flat. Okay, if you go take a look at it, put it up on a log scale and you'll see it just looks completely flat. It's ridiculous. Yes, it kind of just peaks up during the hype cycles in Bitcoin, but it always flattens back out to absolutely nothing. Anyways, so Hoskinson raised concern about discrepancies in environmental, social, and governance scoring, noting there will be a difference in how different jurisdictions define those guidelines, and smart contracts on a blockchain could be employed to build international ESG standards. That's right. The shitcoiners are totally down for the ESG you'll have nothing and eat bugs narrative. They're totally good for this. They want the ESG narrative. It's fantastic. I'm so glad he's on board with this. Hoskinson also said the blockchain provides, this is great, trust in business processes and installs standards amongst people who don't really trust each other or necessarily get along. I feel like people already do business. Am I wrong? Do people not already do business out there in the real world? Like, do we really need the blockchains to do this? Is that really what's happening to us? I just don't think so. Anyways, Hoskinson concluded by pointing out that blockchains are nothing more than code, and that code doesn't care who you are or where you're at, highlighting the neutrality of such systems. Now, you see, this, although he's not necessarily mistaken, he's kind of painting a shitcoiny validation narrative, right? Where he's trying to paint the picture that his centralized shitcoin that has a foundation is somehow the same thing as Bitcoin, which has no head to chop off. That's essentially, to me, that's what that little piece does. So we're going to just go take a quick look here. Take a quick look at the Cardano Foundation. That's right. See, Bitcoin has no foundation. But Cardano has a foundation. Ethereum has a foundation. Anyways, We are an independent Swiss-based nonprofit that oversees and supervises the advancement of Cardano. We are the legal custodians of the Cardano brand. That sounds like a head to chop off right there. The Cardano, metaphorically, the Cardano Foundation sets the direction for decentralized economic empowerment. But this is a foundation, and wait, there's more to this foundation. The Cardano Foundation sets the direction for decentralized economic empowerment, working with regulators in different jurisdictions to shape blockchain legislation and commercial standards, and empowering the Cardano community to leverage the Cardano protocol to solve real-life problems. I find it so interesting that they're completely insane in thinking that for some reason the world is going to take on this centralized shitcoin. I just don't understand why they would think this. Now, if you take a look, right? So this is not decentralized in any way, shape, or form. There's completely a single point of failure. They have executives, they have a community team, they have operations, they have market and growth. You can take a look here at every single person. Look, exchange relationships manager. Find me the exchange relationships manager for Bitcoin. Or how about the head of partnerships and executive officer of Bitcoin? Do we know him, Nico? Are we going to see he or she? Do you think we're going to meet them?
He's on the show today. It's Optimus.
Oh, it's Optimus. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's wrap this part of the fail up here. Cardano is a proof-of-stake blockchain platform, the first to be founded on peer-reviewed research and developed through evidence-based methods. It combines pioneering technologies to provide unparalleled security, sustainability to decentralized application systems and societies. I don't understand how it offers decentralized anything when I just showed you the Cardano Foundation and how they actually further the development of Cardano. So this is all complete nonsense. It's just word salad. Anyways, before we move on to the last fail, Optimist, you want to hit this first?
I'm honestly surprised that people are still into Cardano at this point, because it's such a train wreck. Like the leader or the creator Hodgkinson, like, he's such a joke on Twitter, in my opinion. He's like this crypto celebrity, and everyone's like built a culture around him. And like you guys are showing, man, it's a company. There's people. There's a head to cut off. Like, it's not decentralized. Just buy Bitcoin. Your life's so much easier. It's so simple, guys. Just buy Bitcoin. I get frustrated at this stuff. It's like you got the best money in the world, and then we got scammers trying to give you something that is literally just taking your Bitcoin. And we get called toxic. It's ridiculous.
Dude,
yeah,
I completely agree. I think, it's a tech startup, but they have their own money to which to dump on investors. So, it's a big racket. It's a big scam, and I'm not a big fan of government regulation. I'm a big fan of the free market. Let the free market decide. But what are these but not giant Ponzi schemes, right? They're literally, and that's what shitcoins are. They're literally designed to enrich the founders, and they're literally designed to part you away from your Bitcoin. And if you look at a chart, which we pulled up many times, over the long run, right, none of these outperform Bitcoin. So what is the point? I'm buying these, and I understand the point, because a lot of people getting into the space, you get in and you see the price of Bitcoin, you say, I missed that train. Let me get on the other train. There's something called unit bias. You buy Cardano, psychologically it feels a lot better because you're buying more of it, right? But in reality, it's not equal. You're not buying something that equates to Bitcoin, which, exchanges like Coinbase and, a lot of the shitcoiners on YouTube do a really good job at exploiting that, that psychology, and then they're like, oh, look, this is a new thing. This is the next thing. Whereas in Bitcoin, everyone wins, and shitcoins, only the founders win, So those are my thoughts on that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap it up with a little NFT failure. You know what? We are actually not even going to dive into this article. We are just going to discuss this, okay? I just covered a couple of things in it to give you an idea. Essentially, it's an entire article shilling NFTs and talking about the proliferation of NFTs. But I want you to pay attention to the title, because the title is the most ridiculous, I think the most ridiculous thing I read today, which does say a lot because I read a lot of ridiculous crap. NFTs can democratize imagination, says VR Metaverse Sculptor. Democratize imagination.
That is one big pile of shit.
Okay, I just want to set the stage here. When industrial designer and NFT artist Joshua Skirdish sculpts in virtual reality, he's unbound by the constraints of the real world. He can dream up things not inspired by his immediate physical surroundings with an endless digital canvas to use as he sees fit. When he does take off his Meta Quest 2 headset, he returns to a near-empty 100-square-foot room in Queens, in New York, with little more than a computer desk on one end of the space. The walls are intentionally blank, and the floor is covered in soft, interlocking EVA foam panels like the midsole of a sneaker. Get ready for the metaverse. Okay. And then they go in to start explaining NFTs, and this is where you know it's just a complete puff piece. An NFT serves as a proof of ownership for an item. No, it doesn't. And we've shown time and time again, all you ended up paying for is the hash. And in this case, each Genesis NFT represents a single 3D figure that he hand sculpted in VR. Okay, so look, there is a major disconnect between this title, okay, and them essentially selling some person creating. So this is the gimmick. He's creating NFTs while he's wearing a VR headset. That's it. That's the thing.
That's the thing. That's the new elaborate scheme to steal your Bitcoin. Like that's the thing, They're just capitalizing on buzzwords and on trends, VR, this, Bitcoin doesn't do that. And, it's just unfortunate, bro. It is what it is. They're just giant scammers.
But that title, like, what does that title even mean? Democratizing imagination. I got to tell you, I read this early in the morning and I've thought about it at least minimum an hour today. And I have no idea what they're actually talking about. And they don't explain it in any way, shape or form. In the article, all they do is explain the proliferation of NFTs, the growth of NFTs. I don't get it.
Dude.
Optimist?
Well, we said it last week, democracy is just the catch-all phrase for everything. So
You muted yourself, my dude.
That was my computer, Nico. It's not supposed to make sense, Phil. This isn't supposed to make sense. This is the Weef. You own nothing and be happy. This is how they roll it out.
Agreed.
It's through the NFTs. Anyways, beautiful fails, Phil. A lot of just heaping piles of shit after the other, all designed to take your Bitcoin. Don't fall for it. That's why we cover it. Stick to Bitcoin. That's the truth. That's the signal. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural news. It's stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners. This is the artwork for Volume 10. They're all made by Bitcoiners. This is the artwork for Volume 11. It just dropped, and they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Get your physical print of Citadel 21 today before they run out. All right, everybody. First meme is brought to us by a homie, Tony.Hodl at stacking_sats. Give this dude a follow. It's all the shitcoins, Solana, ETH, Binance, Cardano. Oh, no. He's about to turn our shitcoin off again. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't cover that, Phil. Yeah, all these apparently ETH and Solana got turned off over the weekend. I'm sure Phil will get to it this week. So many fake smiles. You never know what someone is going through. I don't have enough Bitcoin. It's so true. Shout out RD. Next one by I am that OTHI. I'm sorry, bro. I can't. I am thou. Die. Okay, anyways. I am fully secure and decentralized, and my blockchain just went down. I'm grateful for the protection of my validators continue to provide. It's so true, man. It's absolutely clown world. Phil's going to cover it, but essentially over the weekend, Ethereum was down in the sense that it didn't go down, but the Ethereum fees went all the way up to $5,000. Absolute clown world. And I think it was the Solana blockchain that went down once again. It's just total clown world. Phil's going to do the digging. We'll get to it this week. But anyways, next meme by Lynn. Bitcoin doesn't do anything. Bitcoin undermines the Federal Reserve System. This is responding to the infamous Charlie Munger video, which Optimus covered during the numbers. He did a very good job. He did a very thorough coverage of that. We've never been that thorough in the numbers. That was impressive. Anyways, Charlie Munger. It's so true, man. Bitcoin undermines the Federal Reserve System. Bitcoin doesn't do anything. It's true. Make up your mind, man. Okay, next one by Full Throttle Hodl. Shitcoins. Bitcoin. It's so true, man. All right, moving on. By Top Roller. ETH is going to be the world computer. It's now a shitcoin factory, down 99% on NFTs, 3,000 per transaction. And that, honestly, I think that was one of the reasons that it was down, is that there was like some bug. Phil's going to cover it, but some bug, essentially. Someone was trying to print all these NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain. Next one by Big Sean Harris. Ethereum looking at Biden's rising gas prices. Vitalik, hold my beer. It's so freaking true, man. Awesome memes. The fellow plebs slaying like always. And this is the importance of memes, right? They're so good at communicating information very quickly and just ridiculing the shitcoins. It's absolutely hilarious. And for that, I'm going to give it a very special score. I'm debating what my score is going to be. Optimus, why don't you go first?
All right, guys. I got this. First of all, great memes. Agreed. Perfectly fitting from the news over the weekend. So good stuff, guys. So I'm going to give it this very special embossed pin. Ooh.
Phil's incredibly jealous right now.
That's insane.
Yep. Anyways, for those memes, I'm going to give it, shout out Lucho, this Better Money sticker that came with the Lucho artwork that I just bought. Phil, what would you give those memes?
Very nice, very nice. All right, I'm going with another Swede Toshi classic. It is the Skate or Die sticker, but it's the Stack or Die. Yeah, he's got the board. Yes, I have one too. I love it. Nice. The BitPiggies board.
Awesome.
But yours is awesome. It's the Schiff.
It's the Schiff. I think I have the one too. No, I just have the BitPiggy one. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Too.
Okay, look,
he's got the Schiff one.
The sunglasses are on Schiff right now. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Let us know down in the comment section. Comment. And, of course, make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms like rumble.com and our personal favorite, bitcointv.com. They don't censor there because it's Bitcoin TV. And, of course, make sure to join our Telegram group and link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review, because it's a Bitcoin meme review, and we need memes to review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make some of the best Bitcoin 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin art grenade sculpture. Comes in any color you want. You want it in simply Bitcoin colors? He could do that. You want it in just black? He could do that. You want it in Peter Schiff colors? He could also do that. Yes, it comes in gold. That's fucking awesome. And you can take advantage of the link down below to get 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, so kind of like at a crossroads right now, where you have a push by the powers that be for ultimate centralization. And then, of course, you have Bitcoin. You have, I think, Elon buying Twitter is another step. This push towards decentralization for the freedom of individual. And a big part of their scheme is this idea of digital IDs, right? We've been covering it for quite a long time, right? The push by the World Economic Forum to push a lot of these countries to take the digital ID route, which inevitably leads to KYCing the internet, and a lot of people think that it makes it easier for them to implement a social credit system. This is just sketchy stuff. This is just governments doing government stuff, right? The Digital ID Guaranteed Service was signed into decree following his victory over Marine Le Pen, which will allow France to be compliant with the European Union's digital ID, right? So he wins the election and then he implements a digital ID system. And I know what you're thinking, what does this have to do with Bitcoin? Bear with me, I will make the case. Just after the election, the government announces the launch of digital identity application. The goal is to put a social credit in the Chinese way control and surveillance company. Honestly, if I read this line like 2 years ago, I wouldn't believe it. But after everything that I've seen, I don't know. I don't know for sure. Let's just say I'm suspicious. Now, the reason that I said KYCing the internet, and the reason that I say that this is part of their push, because essentially what's happening is that the elites are losing control. And the reason that they're losing control is partly because of the internet, right? And they don't know how to deal with this. In the United States, you have a push by the Biden administration to the Bureau of Disinformation by the Department of Homeland Security. In France, right, they're already pushing to KYC the internet. In Canada, right, I don't even have to say what has happened in Canada in the last year. I think if you haven't been living under a bridge, it's incredibly obvious. And you have the legacy institutions essentially scrambling. They don't know what to do. Check out this article by Time Magazine, and it's dystopian AF. And again, the reason that they're doing this is because the internet is disintermediating them. And the way they stop that is by KYCing the internet, or what Canada did was very clever, is journalists actually need licenses. So you have to be an approved journalist, right? So this is just another example of this whole thing, how it's just playing out. But anyways, check out this tweet. But free speech in the 21st century means something very different than it did in the 18th, when the founders enshrined it in the Constitution. That is dystopian as fuck. Free speech hasn't changed. Anyways, moving on. So this is Gab.com, and it's an alternative social media platform. And I think this tweet really describes perfectly essentially why they're pushing so much for centralization, whether that's digital IDs, whether it's that journalists getting licenses, whether it's the Biden administration essentially trying to push through a bureau, a bureau of misinformation. Sounds so dystopian, or also known as a Ministry of Truth. This is what Gab.com had to say via their Twitter account. There are so many more people awake now compared to 2016. If Twitter really does enact free speech policies, it is so over for the journos and the regime. Every single thread will be one giant every single time. I completely agree. And moving on. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to connect this with what we were talking about right here in terms of the digital IDs. Nigeria, around 20 to 25% of Nigeria's population have adopted cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and shitcoins, and it's starting to become a big problem for their government. People are just choosing to opt out completely. And check this out, this news that came out from Nigeria not too long ago. Nigeria blocks 73 million mobile phones in security clampdown. Outgoing calls barred on mobile SIMs are not linked to the NIN database. 1/3 of mobile users blocked for failing to comply. Nigerians raise concerns over privacy, data security, and access. So essentially what the Nigerian government did was the people that did not enroll in the digital ID of Nigeria, right? It's just a coincidence that all these governments are rolling out this digital ID, right? They just completely blocked their phones. Now connect this with Bitcoin. Do you see where I'm going with this? If you don't use government approved money, if you don't register for the digital ID, then we cut off your access to the internet. If they KYC the internet, which is what Klaus Schwab has openly said he wanted to do, that's what the World Economic Forum has openly said, how much easier would it be to go after Bitcoin users? Remember, at the end of the day, and this is why I pulled up this Time article, apply this to money, apply this to transacting, right? But transacting in the 21st century means something very different. If they don't allow you to say certain things, what makes you think they would be okay with you transacting with everybody? Connect the dots, right? So the digital IDs is an effort, right, by the powers that be to centralize control, centralize power in order to keep their narratives alive. Why? Out of control and rising. Why Bitcoin has Nigeria's government in panic. They're losing control of the narrative. They're losing control of the narrative. In Nigeria, they're losing control of the money. And what are all these governments doing? They're centralizing and consolidating more and more power through centralization of the internet, right? Remember, if it doesn't go through approved sources, it's labeled misinformation. These are the same people that told you that inflation was transitory. These are the same people that have told you a bunch of stuff that have ended up completely wrong, and essentially the decentralized hive mind of the internet, with all these millions of minds coming together, have been a lot more accurate than their so-called credentialed experts, which is why they're scrambling so hard to push this misinformation garbage through, to push these digital IDs through, to push the KYC internet through. Because if you don't have anonymity on the internet, it's a lot harder to speak your mind, because there's consequences of speaking your mind, right? So there's two powers at play here. There's the old legacy system trying to centralize and consolidate all of this power, and then there's essentially the transition to the information age, which was touched upon in the sovereign individual, where the old powers lose the oomph that they used to have. I don't know another word to describe that. They're losing their credibility. They're losing their ability to control the masses, right, through manipulating media. Because before, think about it. For the example that I gave at the Bitcoin conference, and I'm going to give it to you guys, is back in 2003. Think about it. If social media was a thing, do you think that they would have gotten away with the lie of weapons of mass destruction? Think about all the narratives that they've tried to make people believe, right? Right now, the current one is trying to go to war in Ukraine, right? Think about it. It's a lot harder when people are doing their own research through digital IDs, through KYCing the internet, right? Essentially, they're hoping, right, that they're gonna be able to nip that in the butt. And now add into the mix is Bitcoin. If you think that it's going to stop with you're not allowed to do your own research, you're not allowed to believe what you see with your own eyes, which is why they're having a panic attack over Elon buying Twitter. If you don't believe me, the Bureau of Misinformation literally launched 2 days after he announced that he bought Twitter, right? What are they trying to do? They're trying to consolidate power in a quest, and I think they already lost, in my opinion, in a quest to try to hold on to the power that they've had on for decades. And that power is the ability to manipulate the masses through media, right? But the internet has completely disintermediated them. And at the same time, what is happening is that money is being disintermediated as well. So freedom of speech, the fight for freedom of speech, is the same fight for Bitcoin. The only reason that a lot of people don't see that is because the fight for freedom of speech is the front line. If we lose that front line, they will go after Bitcoin next. Because if you're not allowed to say what is on your mind on the internet, what makes you think that they are going to allow you to transact with anybody your heart desires? It's one and the same. They're both the same fight. I think that these people have already lost, but think about all the power that comes with being able to manipulate the masses through media. Do you really think they were just going to hand over the keys? And in Nigeria, you're seeing how far they're willing to go. In fact, shutting down 73 million people's phone because they didn't sign up for those digital IDs. Absolutely bonkers. Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
As you're explaining this, I'm just thinking about the other piece to this that I don't know how much is being really discussed, right? So let's picture governments amassing all of this data. So now you have governments that are essentially creating honeypots, right? These are honeypots of data. And what's happening is that at some point, governments, I believe, are going to start to share that data with each other. And to be perfectly honest, I think that actually scares me a lot. I think what really bothers me about this whole thing is them wanting to essentially, from what I'm seeing, create this one type of digital ID standard. Okay, and then what you're going to see, inevitably will be this governing body that will emerge from all of this activity.
Well, it's happening. It's happening in Europe, dude. You covered it on the Daily Fail, right?
No, I know, but it'll go beyond that, right? Because you know how each country has their own little bodies, but eventually there's going to be one that spans all of the world. Like you'll see, it's inevitable, right? Like we talk about things like the Trilateral Commission and stuff like that. Like this is literally that type of crap. Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And then don't get me wrong, but then think about it. Who has access to all your data? And that is the biggest honeypot of all.
Absolutely.
Scary as hell, man. Anyways.
It's scary as hell. So, and this is, and I'm going to add in the line that I always say. In the future, you're going to have to pick and choose between central bank digital currencies, right, and Bitcoin. You're going to have to pick and choose between a centralized future, which is what they want so badly. And they're freaking out because the internet is allowing people to do their own research as well as transact without their methods of control. And they're freaking out because of it. Or you're going to have a decentralized future, which is Bitcoin. You're going to have to pick and choose. Right now, it's a little obfuscated. But as time progresses, I suspect it's going to become more and more obvious. Optimus, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, excuse me. It's honestly like terrifying how far these governments are willing to go to keep us corralled as cattle. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember reading 1984 as a kid and being absolutely terrified and then also glad that it was fiction. And now, I don't know, fast forward 15 years later, and we're literally living it as if it was a documentary or a blueprint. So guys, this stuff is absolutely terrifying if you don't have Bitcoin. And as a wise man once said, it's either Bitcoin or communism. And if you're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom. And guys, I don't know about you, but I sure do like freedom, and I'm not down to get freaking tagged, bagged, and cattled for these crazy lunatics over there everywhere in the government. So, buy Bitcoin and opt out. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, dude. Remember, it only works if you take self-custody. If you have your Bitcoin on Coinbase, on an exchange, it really belongs to the government. They just haven't told you yet. Anyways, moving on. Big milestone, big deal. This came up. The incentives of Bitcoin are irresistible, right? And here is Goldman, one of the largest, well-known, right, wealth management banks, right? Goldman offers its first Bitcoin-backed loan in crypto push. Goldman Sachs offered its first ever lending facility backed by Bitcoin in a significant step for a major U.S. bank that accelerates Wall Street's embrace of cryptocurrencies. The secured lending facility lent cash collateralized by Bitcoin owned by the borrower, a spokeswoman for the bank said. The deal was interesting to Goldman because of its structure and 24-hour risk management. But it wasn't only Goldman. There is also a milestone article as well. It is the Wall Street Journal. May 1st, 2022, Wall Street reluctantly embraces Bitcoin and shitcoin. The largest U.S. banks, security firms, and custodians, many of whom once greeted the emergence of digital assets with skepticism, are now showcasing their forays into the market. It's a moment in time when the traditional industry has woken up and more broadly accepted this is happening. Walt Lookin, the recent conversion, industry executive said, has less to do with any epiphany about crypto's utility than it does a simple reality. They don't want to lose the business to rivals. It's gotten to the point where everyone is at some point in the journey. If they're not actively investing, then they're exploring it. In response, most banks' custodians are working on plans to move forward with handling crypto at different paces. Firms such as Fidelity Investments and Cohen Inc. have started storing and trading cryptocurrencies either on their own or through ventures with digital asset startups. Last week, BNY Mellon and rivals such as State Street Corp are building capabilities to store, trade Bitcoin and other digital assets while they await U.S. and state regulatory approvals that they say will allow them to go live with those services for institutional clients. Now, here's the thing, and this is what I've been trying to convey to you guys. They're sipping the poison that will kill them eventually. They just don't know it yet, right? And this goes to a very famous article by Alex Gladstein. Shout out to him. And I think he describes it perfectly. The name of the article is Bitcoin is a Trojan Horse for Freedom, right? And now here's the thing. What these institutions, what these companies, what a lot of governments think is that you could separate the freedom from Bitcoin. But they're wrong. And Alex beautifully describes it. The meme begins with wealthy individuals, corporations, and soon governments, which see Bitcoin as a glittering digital gold out of self-preservation, right? And this article is written 2 years ago, right? And that's exactly what is happening here. Let me read it again, right? The recent conversions, industry executives said, had less to do with any epiphany about crypto's utility than it does a simple reality. They don't want to lose their business to their rivals. Gladstein nailed that 2 years ago. So anyways, the meme begins with wealthy individuals, corporations, and soon governments, which see Bitcoin as glittering digital gold out of self-preservation and greed. They're incentivized to buy, mine, or one day tax this new prize to accumulate the soundest money and gain an advantage over their rivals. Bitcoin does, after all, on its exterior, look very appealing. It's the best performing financial asset in the world over the past 12 years. But Bitcoin is not just number go up technology. Hidden behind the eye-popping gains is a powerful freedom go up technology that its new adopters are knowingly or not pushing forward. NGU and FGU are inextricable. So, again, it's a big milestone. Wall Street caved. I think that they knew deep down inside, right, that perhaps supporting this wasn't a good idea, but the greed and Bitcoin's better flag theory got the best of them, like it's going to get the best of governments. But what they don't realize is when they take that orange pill, whether they realize it or not, like Gladstein pointed out, they're taking also freedom-enabling technology. And it's just a matter of time before those institutional investors realize, hey, wait a second. Why do I need to custody with you exactly? Why are you taking that 1% management fee if I could just store those private keys by myself? Why is it that you need to exist? And those are questions that are going to pop up sooner or later. The more that Bitcoin, the more that Bitcoin expands into the common consciousness, and eventually, I think that these people, whether they realize it or not, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They just don't know it yet. And I don't think it's going to be obvious for another decade or so. But eventually, a lot of those institutional clients, right, perhaps they're now young and they will become older at that time, they'll realize, hey, wait a second. Maybe I need to custody my socks with you, but I definitely don't need to custody my Bitcoin with you. And if James Lavish was right, and a lot of these, smart, guys that came from the financial industry are correct, right? And Bitcoin captures maybe 2, 3, 4% of global assets, right? Think about how much money that is. Think about how much those institutions are losing in business, right? Because before, people had no other option but to custody a lot of their assets with them. But with Bitcoin, self-custody is a whole other monster. It's a whole other thing that they haven't had to deal with. It's just a matter of time before people start to realize, dude, I could take self-custody of my own wealth, and by doing that, you're taking power back, and it becomes increasingly difficult for governments to manipulate people's wealth. Because it's a lot harder for governments to go after millions of people storing their own private keys than a handful of institutions that are storing everyone's wealth. I think that this is where this is going. This is a big milestone, dude. This is where Wall Street has realized, hey, if we don't get on this Bitcoin train, we're going to get left behind. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's exactly what you said. So they get to make the choice. Do I let my competition make me irrelevant and make me poor? Or do I do this myself and essentially kind of hang myself with the rope, metaphorically, so to speak? And that's right. They really have no choice. But there is a silver lining to this for these institutions. for the institutions that decide to actually come together, right, and start to figure out how they can add value into this ecosystem, or how they can create services and or products that people would be willing to use and trust and willing to trade their Bitcoin for, well, then these institutions will not be made irrelevant. You know, like, so they do have a chance, but the problem is this, that I think a lot of people also don't realize is that the bigger the business, the slower it is to pivot. So this is why companies like Google, right? They went and they created Alphabet. And then you have like a separate subdivision of that's Google, and then you have this other subdivision that's something else. This is why they do stuff like this, so that they can pivot. They can pivot quicker. Otherwise, it's very difficult for these large organizations. And when you're talking about organizations like JP Morgan, like Goldman Sachs, this is major entrenchment into the government. This is major entrenchment into the financial world, if not major backbone components of the financial world itself. So these things, they can't pivot quickly. They cannot pivot quickly, and let's face it, they're going to do what they think is going to make them preserve themselves the longest, which is tricking people into custodying their Bitcoin with them. Like if you think about it, like that's pretty much all they have. And Nico, you and I have joked around about this before. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to sit there and look at the Clark Moody dashboard, and they're going to go and sit there and look at TradingView. Go check out the guy's hardware wallet. Make sure make sure it's not stolen. Like do his recovery seed for him. Like good luck to them. Really good luck to them.
Good luck. And honestly, they deserve whatever's coming to them. They fucking deserve it, man. Anyways, Optimus, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think you guys said it perfectly, and you say it basically every show. Incentives are everything. And Bitcoin has the best incentives. So even if it is, them taking the poison slowly, it's still, they're incentivized to do it. And after yesterday's episode with James Lavish, I hit one of my friends he works as an investment for some fund profile manager or something like that. And I was just interested. I'm like, yo, is your company doing something with Bitcoin related? And he was talking about they're very interested in talking about Bitcoin, and so they're right now into doing like ETFs and funds and all that shitcoinery. But he did say that they are looking into some kind of custodial wallet features in the future. And like you guys are saying, in my head, I'm just like laughing. It's like, yeah, that's awesome, guys, but like, anyone who knows anything isn't going to custody their Bitcoin with you if they're smart, but at least they're trying. They understand that if they don't do it, their competitors will, and they're going to get wrecked. So the incentives are pure, guys. The incentives work out there. You just trust the process. Bitcoin fixes this.
Bitcoin really does fix this. But anyways, Phil, there was a website by Plebe. Why don't you show everybody?
Websites by Plebs, or Plebsites, brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Guys, I keep telling you, don't store your seed on paper. Paper is not safe. And it's also not safe to tattoo your seed to your body, right? Those two things. Not good. Anyways, store your seed in the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. They both come with a tamper-resistant wire, but the grid comes with a punch tool. Shout out to Bitcoin Mel. That's right. She reached out to me. She's trying to get some more attention to the Bitcoiners in the Chicago area. So go check out bitcoinforgirls.com. Here we go. We've got Chicago BitDevs meetup May 12th. And the Bitcoin Blitz chess tournament and meetup on May 13th. Check out our website. Let's get some love to the Chicago Bitcoiners. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You could stream us sats through Breeze.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our clothing sponsor, representltd.com. Phil and I wear the hoodies every single day. Phil has the new Bitcoin hoodie on. He's going to come out with more Bitcoin merch soon, and you can take advantage of the promo code down below for 10% off anything off the representltd.com store. I also want to give a very special shout out to the new member of Simply Bitcoin. You go give him a follow on Twitter at my_livin_truth. He is also the co-host of one of our favorite pleb hangouts, the legendary, famous Bitcoin Kindergarten. It's every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a live discussion, Q&A. They had Pierre Richard last week. I don't know who they're going to have this week, but it's freaking awesome. You guys should definitely check it out. Guys, that was the show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
Wall Street caved. The governments are caving. Nothing stops the honey badger.